Hello and welcome to Berry Nerd Corner. My name is Brandon, and this is my attempt to beat Pokemon Sword using only Leon's Pokemon. That means using these encounters and following these rules. All this information is in the description down below, but let's get started. The challenge is going to begin in 3, 2. I begin my journey by picking up Dad's old bag. It's the worst. I hate it. I cannot wait to replace it with a slightly less horrible bag. Hop and I visit the local train station to pick up the other Leon. He's hopeless without us. He puts on the old song and dance, enamoring everyone in the town. He then challenges someone to defeat him. Oh, just you wait, you fashion faux pas freak. Cue the starter Pokemon. I love this intro cutscene. It really shows off the personalities of the 3 starters. Which one is your favorite? Comment down below. #GrookieGang, #ScoreBunnySquad, or #Sobble Society to let me know. As for me, I'm obviously part of the Grookey gang. He's the best, and he's the one that we see Leon use first in the anime. This means that Hop gets Sobble and Leon gets Scorebunny. I name my Grookey Paladin, and we solidify our friendship with a high five. The next day, the brothers peer pressure me into battling Hop. His team outnumbers ours 2-1, but Paladin is a tank. A few scratches and some branch pokes later, and Hop is defeated. He's strangely obsessed with type effectiveness, which is very annoying. Before we can leave properly, we have to explore the slumbering weald for a lost Wooloo, as any responsible 10-year-old should. We don't actually find Wooloo. We instead find a big doggo. I send out Paladin to poke it with a stick and scare it off. We jump ahead to Route 2. Leon appears to show us how to catch Pokemon. Wait, you have a Rookidee, and you just caught a Wooloo. That gives me an idea. Meet Ranger the Rookidee and Cleric the Wooloo. They won't be able to evolve, but they'll surely be of help, at least in the early game. We visit the professor's lab and clap Hop's team with our trio of better versions. Leon endorses us to start the gym challenge, and our Koos gives us a wishing star to become our Dynamax band. Then Hop and I ride a train like the Gen Zers we are and disembark in the wild area, the location of my next encounter. Unexpectedly, I find an Axew in a max raid den. I catch her, name her Fighter, and add her to the team. We also capture Druid the Temple. With the team filling up, we head to Motostoke Stadium to sign up for the gym challenge. We pick the number 1 for our jersey, then skip to the next morning to watch the opening ceremony. I love that Galar makes such a big deal about gym battles. It's such a fresh take and twist on the traditional Pokemon plot. Leaving town, Hop wants to battle again. Fighter is able to get her first Dragon Dance sweep, so we're going to skip most of his battles going forward. But Paladin does evolve into Thwackey, which is great. Speaking of evolving, Ranger tries to evolve into Corvisquire, but that's not allowed since Leon doesn't canonically have one. At the end of the Galar Mine, we battle the Smug Bead for the first time. But it's another Dragon Dance sweep with Fighter. I'll probably skip future rematches with Bead as well. We've got much more important things to show, such as our gym battle against Milo. But, surprise, it's another Dragon Dance sweep. Fighter maxes out her attack and speed, then poison jabs and max oozes both of his Pokemon. Eldegoss does survive the ooze because of rivalry, but a follow-up the next turn ends the battle and earns us our first gym badge. We head to Holbury for the next gym. On the way, we help a medical professional and receive a Rotom bike for our efforts. Strange that a nurse or a doctor, I'm not sure which, has the bike for us, but I won't complain. It's a free bike. We reach Holbury where we see Chairman Rose running around in his pajamas. Oleana tells us to defeat the gym leader and then join them for lunch. Bet. Let's do that. Sidebar, I love the gym mission for Ness's gym. I think it's a cool puzzle that is just complicated enough to be challenging for all ages. It's probably one of my favorite gym puzzles. Jumping into Ness's gym battle, it's another one-sided slaughter. Paladin takes out Goldeen and Barraskewda with Razor Leaf, only taking a single bite from missing an attack. Then Max Overgrowth takes out Dynamax Dreadnought, another easy badge. We join Oleana and Rose for lunch. Oh yeah, Sonya's here too. We talk about the Dynamax phenomenon before Rose mentions Hammerlock and leaves. I guess that's our main destination? Anyway, we leave Holbury and go mining again. And of course Beat is here too. I don't have time for this discount silver. One good thing does happen in Galar Mine 2 though. Druid evolves into Palpitoad. Back in Motostoke, we crash at the Budew drop-in for the night. But not before we meet another rival, Marnie. Anybody want to guess how we defeat her? To get ready for the gym, we take a detour to the Isle of Armor. There, we meet yet another rival named Clara. We all know how this battle goes, so skip. After winding our way to Pot Bottom Desert, we find a Rhyhorn. Her name is Barbarian, and she's joining the team. I am so excited to use her. Rhydon was the MVP in my ground type only run, and I've never used a Rhyperior. Here's hoping she survives long enough to become one. Now, let's challenge Kabu. This is by far the most interesting gym battle so far. We lead with Ninetales and Barbarian. I set up Stealth Rock while Ninetales burns me with Will-O-Wisp. I stay in and hit Rock Blast, taking Fire Spin but dealing solid damage. After another 2 rounds, Barbarian ends up in the red before taking Ninetales down with Drill Run. Burn damage then leaves her with 10 HP while Arcanine comes out. I switch for Cleric, who takes very light damage from Bite. After some back and forth, Cleric manages to chip him under half health. But with only 6 HP left, she needs to switch. I bring in Druid. After a weak Flame Wheel and a missed Will-O-Wisp, Bubble Beam puts the Fire Dog out. Last for Kabu is his Scintiscorch. The Firebug takes half its HP and damage from Stealth Rocks on entry. Then, we both Bigify our Pokemon, with Kabu showing off the Gigantamax phenomenon. Unfortunately, Max Geyser isn't enough to finish off this bug, so it lowers our special attack with Max Flutterby. However, a second Geyser takes down the bug, winning us our 3rd badge. With the Fire Badge in hand, we can now access a whole new section of the wild area, including Hammerlock Hills, our next destination. There, we find a Charmander in the Max Raid Den. We catch him and name him Warlock. Finally, our true ace is here. And we can replace Ranger, since they've not been much help lately. We also get to use a rare candy to evolve him immediately. But that's not all. We catch a Honedge named Rogue and add her to the team too. Now we have a full and legit Leon team. In Hammerlock, we meet Rose and Oleana again. They tell us about wishing stars and the Power Plant Stadium multi-purpose building. Yeah, I don't care. But I do find it cool that the game shows you areas as foreshadowing for future challenges. Both Motostoke and Hammerlock are easy to find towns, but you can't challenge them until you double back later. Here, we meet Leon's true rival Raihan, who will only battle us after we acquire 7 badges. We'll see you soon, dude. On Route 6, we learn about the fossils, which apparently you can just duct tape together to create some unholy abomination. I mean, have you ever read the Pokedex entries for the Galar fossil Pokemon? Yeesh. Anyway, we arrive in Snow-on-Side and Hop wants to battle again. Skip. Before challenging B, we have a training arc at the Isle of Armor. We've been mistaken for a new student, so we're forced to enter the dojo. There, we meet Master Mustard, who wants to battle as an entrance exam. But I outlevel him by a wide margin, so it's super easy. Mustard welcomes us to the dojo and introduces the 3 trials that we must complete. The first, chase down 3 hacked Slowpoke to retrieve Clara's uniform. Obviously that's super easy for an undefeatable champion like myself. Returning to the dojo, Mustard lets almost everyone pass the first trial. He gives us a choice between Bulbasaur and Squirtle because they weren't included in the Galar Dex initially. I choose Squirtle. Mustard then gives us the next trial. Hunt for 3 max mushrooms and make him some lunch. Luckily, we found some mushrooms on our previous visit to the island, so we retrace our steps and pick the shrooms. Clara tries to stop us, but Rogue puts her in her place. We return to the dojo, where Honey starts to prepare some max soup. Clara rushes in, having completed the trial as well. She insists that we use her shrooms for the soup, which lets me keep mine for later. We then meet Mustard in his room alongside Clara. He tells us about the final, last, ultimate trial. A Dynamax battle with Clara. She doubts whether she can win. Rightfully so. We head out to the arena and start the battle. Clara reveals that toxic spikes somehow were scattered throughout the field. But that doesn't matter for Rogue. This match is a tiny bit tougher, but it's still not worth showing. Rogue puts her in her place for the last time and evolves into Doublade. With the 3rd trial complete, we can prepare for the next gym. We max out everyone's Dynamax level, evolve Rogue, Druid, Warlock, and Paladin, and give the latter 2 the ability to Gigantamax. We are ready for anything. B's first Pokemon is Hitmontop, who is completely unable to touch Rogue. This lets me set up 3 Swords Dances. Then it's an aerial ace sweep of most of her team. Rogue does take tons of damage from Brutal Swing, but then we just switch for Warlock when Gigantamax Machamp comes out. We then show off our Gigantamax by supersizing our Charizard and blasting Machamp with a couple of max Airstreams to win the match. Following our victory, we hear a commotion at the local ruins. We roll up to find Bede using Rose's Caparaja to tear down the ruins in search of wishing stars. Oh Bede, you foolish, foolish boy. Rose disqualifies him from the gym challenge as punishment. Good. Now we'll never have to deal with him again, right? Right? We move on to the Glimwood Tangle and navigate the maze of paths to reach Balanlea. Balanlea? How is this even pronounced? Regardless, Fighter reaches level 38 and evolves into Fracture along the way. Also, why is there a Chinchou just sitting on these toadstools? It doesn't make any sense. Anyway, time for the gym. This gym puzzle is a trial to see if we're fit to be the Fairy-type gym leader. Given that we have precisely 0 fairies, we probably aren't. Now we have to battle Opal. This is by far the easiest of the Galar gyms. Opal gives you various buffs if you answer her questions correctly. Rogue is able to cut down each of her Pokemon with a single hit from Iron Head. A literal piece of cake. Leaving the gym, Opal offers to escort us back to Hammerlock. Sure. We arrive just in time to find Bede again. Opal accosts him and invites him to train as her replacement gym leader. Surely now is the last time we'll see him, right? We're moving on to Circhester. Crossing Route 8, we enter Circhester City. Honestly, this is probably my favorite city in Galar. I could just sit in the plaza and listen to the background music all day. We challenge Gordy and the battle begins with Paladin versus Barbarackle. But a quick drum solo gives us an early lead. Second is Shuckle, so we pivot to Druid. She's able to take it out with 2 hits of Scald, recovering all the damage done to her with Shell Bell. Third is Stonejourner. I predict Wonder Room and go for Drain Punch. Wonder Room switches its 135 defense stat with its 20 special defense stat, so the punch is an easy knockout. Gordy's final Pokemon is Gigantamax Colossal. I choose not to Dynamax myself, instead becoming invulnerable thanks to Dig. This allows me to stall out his Gigantamax while only taking a single hit. Then, when Colossal returns to normal size, a second Dig is able to bury the Cold Pokemon, defeating Gordy. With 6 badges in hand, we take a little break for a Hot Springs episode. We meet Sonia and Hop at the local cafe. Then we head to the Hot Springs, where Hop of course wants to battle. Man, back off. Can we go back to the early games of Rivals where we battled every 2 or 3 badges instead of every single badge? I'm not even going to show the fight, but I will show Barbarian evolving into Rhydon, because that's exciting. We head on over to Route 9 where we encounter Team Yell cheering for a random Dreadnought? And there's a nurse/doctor here as well? I don't understand what's going on, but we have to fight off the grunts. And then the medical guy upgrades our bike so we can ride like Jesus. But seriously, why is the bike given and then upgraded by a nurse? Or a doctor, still not sure. We find our way to Spikesmith, where the front shutter door is closed. Huh. That's a weird entrance to a city. Luckily, Marnie knows of a secret entrance, so I can challenge the gym. Before I do that, I have a question. Why is there a Cantonian Mr. Mime here? Shouldn't this be a Galarian Mr. Mime? Is there a canonical explanation for this? After crashing an MCR cover band concert, we start the battle with Pierce. First is Scrafty, who intimidates Paladin. But that's fine. I protect to block Fake Out, then start bulking up. This undoes the attack drop while also boosting my defense. This allows me to deal heavy damage with Body Press, which uses your defense to calculate damage. I just barely missed the KO, but I clean it up on the next turn. This brings out Malamar. Body Press does just above half HP, so I knock it out on the follow-up. I could have maxed out my stats earlier with Bulk Up, but I knew that Malamar had Foul Play, which uses my attack stat to calculate damage. So I would have been hit really hard if I had done that. Anyway, third is Obstagoon. I use Bulk Up a few turns until he goes for Obstruct. Then, after mistiming my body press, I have to reset my stat buffs before obliterating the raccoon monster with a single hit. Last is Skuntank, who falls immediately to high horsepower. He does deal some damage with Aftermath, but not nearly enough to take down our paladin. I loved this battle. It required so much more strategy than any other gym battle in this game so far. Pokemon needs more strategic gym leaders like this. An explosion shakes Spikesmith as we reap our rewards. We run into the Lesser Leon, who tells us to focus on our gym challenge since we only have one more remaining. We then run into Hop, who tells us that Pokemon are Dynamaxing like crazy, and that Leon is taking them down in the blink of an eye. I kinda wish that we got to participate in this as a bit of a side quest. The gyms in this game are so rapid fire. Oh well, back to Hammerlock, I guess. Also, small rant time. I have to say, I am so tired of Leon being called the unbeatable champion. We get it. He's never lost. You don't have to rub it in my face every single time we see or talk about him. Let's finish this gym challenge so we can knock him down a peg or two. Rhyhorn's gym is full of weather-based double battles, which is super cool. I wish these mechanics were more widely used in the standard games. It adds a level of complexity and strategy to battling, like I just mentioned. Oh, and these battles give Fighter the experience she needs to evolve into Haxorus. Now, let's face Rhyhorn. Like his gym trainers, this fight is a double battle. It starts with Flygon and Gigalith versus Fighter and Druid. Dragonclaw takes down Flygon before it can do anything, and Scald scores a crit and burns Gigalith. This nerfs it completely. Rhyhorn sends out Sandaconda while Fighter buffs herself with Swords Dance. Druid scalds Sandaconda and then gets paralyzed from Glare. On the following turn, Sandaconda protects itself from Dragonclaw while Gigalith falls to a second Scald. Rhyhorn's Duraludon enters the battle and immediately Gigantamaxes. Fighter takes out half of Duraludon's HP with Brick Break, though a Gmax depletion obliterates her in return. This gives us our first death. I send out Warlock, admittedly having forgotten about Stealth Rocks. I then pivot to Rogue on the max Rockfall while simultaneously punching the Skyscraper for the KO. Druid is seriously carrying this team. All that's left is Sandaconda, who falls to Scald the following turn. Rhyhorn is defeated and we have all 8 badges. And now it's time to head to the Champions Cup. I'm going to use Rhyhorn's level cap for the finals for this section. And for my sanity, that cap will end when the Champion Cup begins. Onward to Windon. Before we catch a train, we add Sorcerer the Dreepy to the team. We caught him in the Lake of Outrage before the gym, but he was already over the level cap. With her on the team, Hop catches up with us, having somehow beaten Rhyhorn in 12 seconds. Sounds like nepotism to me. Anyway, I hop on the train with, well, Hop, and head to Route 10, where we can find our final encounter. We catch a female Mr. Mime, a Mrs. Mime. Her name is Bard, and she's replacing Rogue. Aegislash is just a bit more meh than I expected. I'll explain more at the end. Plus, this is a Pokemon I've never used. Welcome to the team. After updating the team with a couple of off-screen evolutions, we enter Windon Stadium for the Champions Cup. We check our badges at the desk and enter the locker room to prep for the semifinals. Our first opponent is Marnie, so let's take her down. Marnie leads with Liepard, and I choose Barbarian. I buff my defense with Iron Defense before dealing pretty good damage with Ice Fang. I buff myself further before taking out the Leopard, while all it did was buff itself uselessly. Marnie sends out Scraggy. Swagger confuses Barbarian, but Body Press flattens the gangster Pokemon. Third is Morpeko. Since I can't use Body Press, I have to settle for Earthquake. After an unexpected Bullet Seed, I destroy the little mouse and bring out Toxicroak. Thanks again to Torment, I have to switch moves to Body Press. This nearly takes out the frog, but it manages to badly poison Barbarian. We then get Swaggered again, this time hitting ourselves in confusion twice in a row. Poison damage is also building, so we have to switch. I choose Warlock, who takes a critical hit before finishing Toxicroak with a Flamethrower. Last is a Battle of the Titans, Warlock versus Grimmsnarl. Wildfire deals 50% and some residual damage, while Snooze deals a bit of damage and makes Warlock drowsy. A follow-up G-Max Wildfire immolates the Goblin. moving us on to the next round. Round 2 is against Hop. This is the climax of our rivalry, so let's put him in his place once and for all. He starts with Dubwool, and I keep Barbarian up front. I go for the same body press strategy, ignoring Hop's exclamations about super effective moves. Dubwool manages to deal about 25% before falling a few turns later. Snorlax is second, so I keep up the attack. 2 body presses take down the bear, with Hammerarb not even dropping Barbarian into the yellow. She's a tank. Hop's next Pokemon is Corviknight. I deal a bit of damage with body press before switching to my other main, Warlock. Flamethrower melts the steel bird and brings out Pincurchin. Why do you even have this Pokemon? I then pivot to Paladin, although this decision takes a little while. I forgot to teach it a grass move to handle Inteleon. Regardless, Paladin is able to buff himself with Bulk Up before taking down this stupid Pokemon with a critical hit. Last is the iconic starter v starter matchup. We both bigify our Pokemon, but Hop isn't cool enough to G-Max his starter. What a waste. Max Hailstorm does some light damage and sets up Hail. Max Quake deals literally 99% damage to Inteleon, which initially frustrated me. But then I remembered the Hail. So Hop's Dynamaxed Ace Pokemon falls to the Hail damage that he set up himself. Can we get some Fs in the comments for Hop and Inteleon? They're gonna need some therapy after that humiliation. Leon greets us in the lobby after the battle, congratulating us on progressing to the finals. He also promises to bring his A game for the final match against us. We're ready to go, but Hop is tired, so we head to our hotels to rest. Later that evening, Leon is late for dinner and Hop is worried. Pierce shows up and tells us that he went to Rose Tower and passed along a message. Hop insists that we head to the tower to check on him, so Pierce leads the way. I wasn't going to include this, but I do want to mention how ridiculous this is. We have to find some of Macrocosmos' employees to retrieve the key to Rose Tower. Why wouldn't Oleana just, keep the key herself? Whatever. We find Eric in the TARDIS at one point. His team also changes up in each of the 3 battles we have, but he always uses steel types. I would call that foreshadowing. Let's get to Rose Tower. Outside the tower, Hop, Marnie, and I stand around and gab for a little bit. Honestly, I wasn't even reading the text. Pierce shows up, and Hop and I decide to enter the building. We take the lift to the top floor, fending off Macrocosmo employees along the way. I was going to skip this fight, but let's talk about what's going on. Rose is meeting with Leon, which isn't anything suspicious in and of itself. Yet Hop got worried unnecessarily, dragging us into everything. But again, nothing was out of sorts. Until Oleana stepped in. Hiding the key was kinda sus, but sending every single employee to stop us from interrupting this meeting is incredibly weird. If she hadn't intervened, everything could have been explained away easily, letting Rose put his plan into action without a hitch. Speaking of Oleana, we reach the top floor and confront her. After raving about Rose's plan, the Manic Pixie attacks us. First is her Frostlass against my Bard in her debut battle. Bard really serves one main purpose. Nasty plot to double her special attack, then baton pass that buff to Warlock. This works perfectly. Flamethrower melts her Frostlass. Dragon Pulse makes pretty easy work of Milotic, who insisted on protecting herself instead of drowning my fire type with Surf. Dragon Pulse then obliterates Salazzle on entry, and Flamethrower scorches Serena like the Texas sun. This leaves Oleana with just her ace Garbodor, which is a weird choice of final Pokemon for her. Regardless, a boosted Wildfire is more than enough to incinerate all her literal and figurative garbage. With that done, we find Rose worrying about the future of Galar. He wants to cancel the Champions Cup to prevent the end of the world in 1,000 years. Leon reasonably tells him that he's being ridiculous, and we all leave to continue the championship. But Rose continues to be pretty sus. Here's the team as we head into the finals. Remember, the level cap ended at the beginning of the tournament. Yeah, this kind of breaks the game, but so does permanent whole team experience share. Besides, Leon is meant to be the unbeatable champion, right? So it's on brand. We enter the stadium to start the finals. Our first match is... interrupted by Bede. Who allowed this? Why is somebody who was kicked out of the gym challenge able to interrupt the championship? Why is anyone able to interrupt the championship. We are skipping this out of spite. Okay, now it's time for the finals. Round 1, Nessa. I lead with Warlock against her Golisopod. It may seem weird, but I just wanted to use Air Slash to emergency exit the bug, which works on the second turn. Barrascuda comes in, so I switch to Paladin. Drum Beating takes down the fish easily. Nessa then sends out another fish. Well, if it ain't broke. After we eat that fish, Nessa sends Golisopod back out. I pivot to Druid expecting first impression, but she instead heals. Oh well. I burn the bug with Scald before forcing him to exit the field again, removing his 2 Swords Dances. Nessa then brings out Pelipper, so I switch to Sorcerer for her debut. Thunderbolt electrocutes the Pelican. Enter Golisopod again. Say hello to Druid again. After dealing some chip with Rocky Helmet and Burn, I switch to Paladin. Shadowclaw crits, but it's not a lot of damage. Tailwind also ends, so it's time to finish this. Drum Beating takes out Golisopod finally, leaving Nessa with just her Dreadnought as the rain stops. The next drum solo is, well, killer. Jumbo Dreadnought falls and allows us to move on. No time to waste. The second round is against B, and she leads with Hawlucha. Once again, I'm setting up with a Ghost. This time, it's Sorcerer. I use Dragon Dance to buffer and Protect to avoid Bounce, which is the only move that can hit her. I do this for 6 turns to max out my stats, but I didn't realize until rewatching the footage, and also checking Bulbapedia, that I accidentally PP stalled Bounce. With that out of the way, Sorcerer, grab a Swiffer, cause it's sweeping time. Breaking Swipe knocks out Hawlucha, then Surf Edged, followed by Phalanx, and ending with Graplocked. Just kidding, it doesn't end there. B Gigantamaxes her Machamp again, but not even Max Champ can stand against Breaking Swipe. 2 shots take it out, though B does heal with a Forward Store in the middle. Next is the final round of the finals, with a rematch against Raihan and his weather team, this time in single combat. First is Drought Torkoal versus Druid. Predicting Solar Beam, I switch to Warlock. A crit beam only does 14 damage, which is hilarious. Air Slash misses, then downs the tortoise in 2 hits. But Warlock falls asleep from yawn. Goodra is second, so I switch back to Druid. The Snot Dragon sets up the rain, which will only help Druid. Ice Punch deals 2/3 while Surf barely deals 1/3. A second Chilly Fist knocks out Goodra and brings in a Dirt Dragon, which Druid outspeeds and obliterates with a 4x super effective Ice Punch. Not a good choice there, Raihan. Fourth is Turtonator. I throw some rocks at him while he hits with Dragon Pulse and sets up some Sunlight. He then tries to take us out with Shell Trap, but I just throw some more rocks at him from a distance for the KO. This leaves Raihan with just his Skyscraper. Does anybody remember our fight with Gordy? How we handled his Gigantamax Pokemon? Well, we're remaking an old favorite, this time with a new twist. We Drain Punch a couple times to stay alive against Max Knuckle. Then, we Dig to avoid G-Max depletion. This forces Duraludon to shrink back to normal size. His reduced health is now low enough for Dig to knock him out, winning the battle. And now, the time has come. We enter the stadium for the final time. We stand across from Leon, the current regional champion. He waxes philosophical while the camera gives us a cinematic focus rack. I love a good focus rack. We turn and walk to opposite sides of the field, ready for the battle to start. First out is... Wait, what is going on? Rose? Why is everyone interrupting the championship? I'm going to beat you so badly that you won't even think about touching a Pokeball again. Leon, you've been spared. For now. Before we can face Rose though, Hop makes us return to the Slumbering Weald in search of the Pokemon of Legend. We don't find them, instead finding a rusty sword and shield at a hidden altar. Cool, maybe I can give Rose a nasty dose of tetanus with this. I don't know. We return to Hammerlock to confront Rose. Warlock is able to melt his entire team with ease, not taking any damage from his first 4 Pokemon. Even Gigantamax Caporaja is beaten 1 turn, this time from the residual damage from G-Max Wildfire. Beaten, he admits where his plan failed. They awakened Eternatus to solve the alleged energy crisis, but were unable to control it. How Team Aqua and Magma of you? He thinks that Leon has caught the beast on the roof, so he allows Hop and I to head up there. Leon has been battling Eternatus without even Dynamaxing, which I guess is cool. He tries to catch it in a Pokeball and somehow knows when it fails explosively. This also somehow puts him and his Pokemon out of commission because they just disappear. This forces me to step up, sending out Barbarian to fight the monster. Dynamax Cannon does a big chunk to my health bar, and Earthquake nearly defeats that dragon. I then switch around a bit to see who has the best chance of taking it out. For some reason, it switches to Dragon Pulse and then Flamethrower on Warlock, which allows my Charizard to take it down with a Dragon Pulse of its own. But then things get worse. The legendary Pokemon flies into the sky and somehow creates a storm of energy, transforming into a giant hand, which I guess is its Gigantamax form. But now we have to battle it in a raid, with Hop by our side. Again, where's Leon during all of this? Anyway, our Pokemon aren't able to move due to boring plot stuff. Just make the dogs show up when Eternatus transforms. Don't waste my time with these few useless turns of battle. Hop and I pull out our rusted weapons, which somehow awakens and summons Zacian and Zamazenta from the slumbering weald. I feel like I've said the word somehow too many times, but seriously, none of this makes any sense to me. The dogs join us for the raid, giving us the required 4 Pokemon. This is just a wild experience. The dogs do a bit of setup, while Dubwool and Barbarian actually attack the monster. On the second turn, the dogs finally decide to help with their signature moves. At this point, our joint onslaught has brought Eternatus to about 40% of its health. The following turn, we chip away at it some more. But then it hits Barbarian with Max Whirlwind, bringing her down to 4 HP! That was too close! I switch to Druid, allowing Zacian to finish the raid with Behemoth Blade. We catch Eternatus in a Lure Ball, because that's the only ball we had. Actually, before the story continues, I'm going to conduct an experiment. I reset the game, level up my team with some rare candies, and fight Eternatus again. This time, I used my Lure Ball off screen, leaving me with 0 Pokeballs. So when the time comes to catch the beast, I inexplicably have a Pokeball in my inventory. No dialogue, no nothing. Just a random Pokeball. That's lame. 3 days later, Rose has turned himself in and Leon has scheduled the championship match. After some final team preparations, including evolving Sorcerer into Dragapult and Barbarian into Rhyperior, we head to the stadium for it. Round 1 is Aegislash versus Barbarian. I set up Stealth Rocks while Leon foolishly protects himself. He's just sealed his fate. And also Barbarians, as Flash Cannon brutally knocks her out in only 1 hit. That hurts, but it was a necessary sacrifice. I send out Bard, and we all know what her job is. She sets up Nasty Plot twice, surviving a Flash Cannon attack thanks to Focus Sash. Then she baton passes to Warlock, and now the slaughter begins. Flamethrower melts Aegislash, though it manages to stall 1 turn with King's Shield. Dragon Pulse takes down Dragapult after taking a Thunderbolt. Air Slash defeats Seismitoad in a single shot, which is only possible due to the second Nasty Plot. This also heals Warlock above half health thanks to Shell Bell. Haxorus is next, and Dragon Pulse puts it down quickly. Cinderace is Leon's penultimate Pokemon. He also manages to outspeed, hitting with Acrobatics. But Dragon Pulse also knocks him out in a single hit. This just leaves Charizard for the battle of Game Freak's most overappreciated and overrepresented Pokemon. Stealth Rocks drops Leon's Zard to half HP immediately. We then both Gigantamax our Pokemon, leading to the most epic standoff in the history of Pokemon. But Warlock is faster, so he hits with Max Rockfall to take out the rest of Charizard's health. Like with Seismitoad, this wasn't enough for the KO without Stealth Rock's damage. But with that, Charizard has fallen, Leon is defeated. Leon admits defeat graciously and passes his title of champion on to us. After a very long loading screen, we can begin the outro. Seriously, why did the game take so long to load? I loved this run. This was only my first, maybe second time beating Pokemon Sword and Shield, and so I'm glad that I did. This game has been so much fun. It was super easy with this team, but that just shows how busted Leon's Pokemon are. I did make a few mistakes. Obviously, I'm not perfect. My most egregious probably was not knowing that I could get a Mime Jr. in the wild area, basically as soon as I entered. I would have loved to have Mr. Mime and Mr. Rhyme for more of the game. I'll have to keep that in mind for future runs. I also want to try something a little bit new. Rather than just talk about the Pokemon that I used, I'm going to make a quick tier list of the encounters. This will be 100% biased, based on my personal feelings about the Pokemon itself and my experiences using it in this run and in others. Starting with F rank, we have Wooloo and Rookidee. They're unevolved filler Pokemon. Where else were they going to go? D is Haxorus. While he can learn a whole bunch of cool moves, he takes some setup to really be effective, and just wasn't that impressive. C rank, we have Aegislash and Dragapult. Aegislash just is not my kind of Pokemon. I can see how you would use it being slower, to be in shield form and then hit and then King Shield, but that's just too much of me hitting my mic, but also too much strategy. It needs to switch into a faster form when its shield is down. I think that would make it a lot better. Dragapult, I just didn't get to use it for very long. It's so late in the game, it evolves so late. Make it available earlier, Game Freak, come on. I know it's super strong and super busted, but let me use it. B rank, we have Mr. Rime. Mr. Rime was cool. I'm sad I didn't get to use it for more of the run because I could have, but I was very impressed with its capabilities. And then Charizard's here just because Charizard is just so overused. I love Charizard, don't get me wrong, but it's not the most impressive. A rank, Rillaboom. Favorite Galar starter. It carried many battles in this run. It was incredible. And then S tier, my two favorite Pokemon that Leon used, Seismitoad and Rhyperior. They're amazing. I love them both so much. And they both were so clutch in this challenge. I wished we'd gotten to use Rhyperior a little bit longer, but it didn't work out getting my friend Squirt to trade to evolve it until I had to challenge Leon. So, sorry. Overall, the undefeated champion ended the run with a single attempt and only 2 deaths. He truly was undefeated. And now I'm never going to say that word again. I'm a bit bummed that my series has taken so long to finish, but I'm still so glad that I did. It's been a great experience for me. With that, thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the Masters 8 series. Let me know if you want to see any other series in the comments down below. I'm so glad to be done so I can move on to different types of videos. But with that, my voice is dying and it's almost time for dinner, so I'm going to sign off here. Remember to be kind and make good choices. I'll see you in the next video. Later, nerds.